Good evening, everyone. I'm Elizabeth George. I'm Chief Membership Officer with the American Guild of Organists. And I'm so glad to invite you tonight to a very special webinar that's going to feature three of our chapters who are in the lead during the Year of the Young Organist Recruitment Contest. And hopefully they're going to divulge a few secrets about how they have maintained being in the lead by recruiting and also keeping their young organists, because our measurements are not just recruiting. You've got to keep those. You can't lose any. So it's net growth. And we'll discuss that a little later. But before we get started with our panelists, just a couple of housekeeping notes. This is being recorded, and tomorrow a link will have been uploaded onto our education tab on our website, and I'll send out an email with a link to everyone. And you are muted, but we do want to hear from you. So please post your comments and your questions in the Q&A box and the icon that is below your screen. We want this to be very interactive. So post questions. This is going to be an open dialogue between all of our panelists. And tonight we are featuring Billie Busby Smith, who is the Dean of the Denver Rocky Mountain Chapter. Nelson Dodge, who is the Dean of the Los Angeles chapter, and with him is John West, who is a chapter member as well, and Mark Andersen, who is the Dean of the Central North Carolina chapter. So I am going to ask Billie to unmute herself. Billie, tell us a little bit about yourself, the size of your chapter, the area that it encompasses, and some of the good stuff you've been doing this year.
Well, I'd be happy to, and thank you so much for inviting me and letting me be on this panel with these other folks as well. I'm Billie Busby Smith. I am Dean of the Denver Rocky Mountain chapter. We say Rocky Mountain because we have a little broader area than just Metro Denver. We share the state with several other chapters as well. At last count, we had 125 members, but our registrar left for Australia, so we're hoping there may be a few more that we don't even know about. I'm Director of Music Ministries at Park Hill Congregational Church in North Park Hill in Denver, and have been there for 20 years, which is something I had never done in my career, so that part is a lot of fun as well. So let's see, was there anything else I was supposed to tell you about us, except what I want to talk about the young organist?
I think that's really just go for it. Tell us all the good stuff you've been doing.
Well, I'm first, so I get to be a little clumsy, I suppose. The Denver Rocky Mountain chapter really has had a long history of working with the young organist. We have viewed the young organist as our future of our profession. And as you know, the demographics move the other way and have been moving that way for quite a while. So we are very excited when we find a young organist. And this year has certainly been even better. I think one magic thing, and it's so obvious, maybe I shouldn't mention it, but individuals who maintain organ teaching studios, and you will find this out quickly when you're a dean like I am, they view their role as one of a mentor as well as an instructor. So you see the young organist at events, you see them at conventions. It's really a wonderful thing. I guess really the secret to our larger number and being number one in the medium chapters is our summer high school organ scholarship program. We began having the summer high school organ scholarship program in 1994. That's a really long time to maintain any program, and we've had few breaks in that, except for, of course, 2020. And a lot of people had breaks in programs then. We did have it in 2021, though. It was abbreviated, but we definitely had it. The program includes an application and audition process, study with a faculty that's made up of our chapter organist, and also includes a year's membership in the AGO. And this year, it was a little bit of a bargain for our chapter, because generally it will cost the chapter that. We generally have between 5 to 9 successful scholars each summer, and that's a nice number. Besides the private lessons, the curriculum will include other opportunities to network, and they network with those scholars, faculty, and our chapter members as well. We do begin the summer with a class, Organ 101, which is attended by all of the students. The class includes organ construction information and demonstration, as well as general organ playing skills. There's also at least one performance class to prepare for the concert. The concerts usually are held the second Monday in September, the Sunday after. It's the Monday night after Labor Day, the week before. And of course, that date changes a little bit. And we try to make sure that there's a really nice instrument with nice opportunity for the families to get to know more about organ music as well. It's a well publicized event. It's certainly well attended and attended from beyond the chapter itself. We had several additional opportunities on the drawing board for the 2020 season, which of course did not occur, and that was very disappointing. But that's the way 2020 was. And one thing we had thought about, and I think it's useful, our Organ 101 class would be extended to those piano teachers who refer to our program. And a lot of them are fine pianists who are interested in the organ, and just maybe they themselves have not had an opportunity, so they would have gotten to attend that. It obviously provides them with additional information, but hopefully it might make them decide to want to study organ as well. It also builds a larger community of those who might be interested in the organ. And it's very interesting over the years. I was scholarship coordinator. That's what really got me roped into wanting to work with the Denver chapter as a volunteer. And now I see the teachers, the referring piano teachers are showing up at concerts. And that's a lovely thing. Of course, recruitment, as Elizabeth said, is one thing, but cannot be addressed without looking at retention as well. Our hope had been to have a special event for the young organist. However, COVID restrictions have eliminated that up to this point. But hopefully we can look at that again this summer as our restrictions are limited and lifted. The other thing I believe that's really important is the more we market our chapter and the guild in general, the more we will be noticed by budding young organists.
I was going to ask you, what are you using? Do you use a lot of social media?
We
Uh,
do.
okay.
We have a mailing list that we've developed over the years with a lot of piano teachers in town. And we have a lot of good contacts that way. That began with email and letters. Letters back in the olden days, right? The ones that you put the little stamp on. But it moved to email a number of years ago. The other thing we've tried is making presentations at piano teacher meetings as well. Now, with our Facebook page and our website, we also, and our monthly newsletter, our communication team, I call them, we have a lot of ways to publicize, and that really does help. I think, AGO's education opportunities are really, really remarkable. And our chapter attempts to make them as accessible as available. So we use Facebook, we use website, whatever we have to. This past year, we brought all of our education together under the direction of one board member. And that has helped immensely, building a continuum of educational opportunities. I think builds our credibility as a vital source and resource for education. Our kids read, our incoming scholars read a lot about when they decide they might want to play the organ. They just go and Google organ and how to get to learn the organ. So we're hopeful that we can learn to even be better at marketing that if that's something.
You really had a full team that said, okay, we're gonna make this work. So it
Well,
took a village. It took a few people to work together, to collaborate.
yeah, we've always had one coordinator, and when I became coordinator, I built it out to a committee. But last year we didn't have one person that had enough time to contribute to it. So 12 board members took a piece of it. And our education coordinator, the program, the big coordinator, and I mean, that is a big amount of coordination to be an education coordinator with all the educational opportunities, sliced the program into about 12 pieces, and everybody did a piece. And we ended up with 9 wonderful players. So they did it well, but now we want to go back to one coordinator. Because it's a lot of work to do that.
It was, but I think, given what the constraints that we have all been under over these last 2 years, it probably made a lot of sense to do that for people to share the responsibilities, because I'm seeing our chapter leaders have less and less time for volunteer work. So if you can split the responsibilities in marketing and coordinating programming, as you've just said, and I love some of your, first of all, using the social media, your Facebook page, and bringing some of those piano teachers in, I think is a great idea. That's wonderful. Well, let's continue the dialogue, but I want to bring Nelson Dodge in now. And Nelson, talk to me a little bit. So Billie's chapter is a medium-sized chapter, and Nelson's one of the megas, or one of the big guys, as we say, right?
Well, yes, our membership has hovered around 280 rather stably for several years, pretty much as long as I've been involved. And this is actually the last year of a 4-year run as dean. I term out in June. So with COVID landing right in the middle of it, I feel like I've only really had one term to really do anything. And a lot of things kind of ground to a halt here. I have to say that learning that we were in the lead in the large chapter group was a complete surprise to me, because of a little glitch where I wasn't getting the notices when we gained a new young organist under this program. I thought we had gotten nothing. And so I've been berating my board, or harping at my board, which John West is with us here. And I'll talk more about him in a minute and why he's here on this. I was using my column in the newsletter to promote the whole thing, and specifically targeting and calling out organ teachers to pass it on to their students. So I think the message, combined with whatever Promotion National was doing, the message did filter out and people were responding. I just didn't know it. So roll back to about September or November last year, when I had a harping session on a board Zoom call to say, we really need to get more organized about this. LA has always had a pretty good age distribution of members, but still light on the young members. We've had student members, quite a few every year, but they tend not to come to the meetings. They're busy, we know that. But one of the things we've done for years is at our dinner, we usually have a nice dinner before each meeting, except during COVID. But any students, and basically any young organist now who comes to the dinner gets a free dinner. And that's been a good draw to get some of these young people to actually show up, not just at a meeting, but come to the dinner where we have a chance to talk to them and really get to know them. So that's been rather nice. But I look around and I see what other chapters, like Orange County to our south, that has a regular scholarship program. They're very organized. They're doing this kind of outreach, and we've done nothing, nothing formalized. So in that meeting last November, the idea kind of sparked, and there was a very energetic discussion going on amongst 3 or 4 of the board members. So I was kind of pleased at the interest and the thrust and the energy there. So I said, I'm appointing you as an ad hoc committee to take this offline and figure out, come back with a recommendation to the board on how we can structure some more formalized ongoing efforts targeted at the young organist student level, with the idea of recruiting students to the organ and drawing them in. Now, and John is one of the drivers in that committee. Christoph Bull is another who might pop in here, but we don't. John, you might want to unmute and chime in here. We don't have the framework of something worked out yet, but it is really my goal that we get something mapped out that can be implemented and has a process to it before I leave the dean office. John, what would you like to add?
Well, I think you've pretty much taken care of most of it, so I don't know how much I can add. But just a little bit about me. I was a teacher at Cal State University, Northridge, back in the 90s, 93 to 99. I was adjunct professor of organ there. But since then, I've just basically been doing more personal appearances and working at churches, where I'm currently now at the Hollywood United Methodist Church as music director organist. So my association with younger students isn't really, well, I actually do have one now. St. Thomas the Apostle has just hired a young kid who's just out of college, and they wanted me to give him some lessons. So I do have him. And I don't know if he is in the AGO yet. I'm certainly going to bring it up with him, but we've only had 2 lessons. So we're all brand new to each other. But yeah, so the ad hoc committee has basically been trying to figure out a way to get something formalized in reaching out to younger students. Christoph has 4 or 5 students over at UCLA, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, and I guess 2 of his have become recent members.
And the rest should.
Yeah, and
We'll make sure they do before the end of June.
Yeah.
Well, so let me ask you, I know Billy was talking about how they were closed down for quite a while. And I know COVID restrictions have been different in every state. And I know California was hit really hard. Are you back to in-person meetings, or are you, because I know that as soon as lockdown started, I mean, I can remember that amazing online recital that you switched like within 24 hours from being an in-person event to streaming. So during this time, how long have you been have you opened up at all to any in-person things, or are you still doing a lot of virtual events?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, either of you, whichever.
Okay. Yes, we are back to in person. In fact, we're pretty much masking requirements have been dropped in the last week or 2, so things are loosening up quickly. Nicely enough, we're having dinners. People are happy, and I did kind of tied into this whole topic. Our President's Day Organ Festival in February on President's Day, an annual event. It's an all-day event, usually with 4 organs at 4 churches, 1 or 2 performers at each location. This year we had 8 performers on 4 organs, with 7 organists plus a violinist. And we did it in person. We canceled it last year because a festival is just really not a festival if you're not there. So it's too much work to try to do it virtually for so little effect. But we really skated. The numbers were super high when a month before, but they were dropping like a rock. And I rolled the dice and said, I think this is going to work, and it did. And one of the things I do in the festival is we usually have 1 or 2 student performers. It's not just the old guys or women. And usually they're not. It's usually younger organists overall. And we had a fantastic lineup this year. But I had two. I had a USC student and another one from Redlands University. And so and these are names that are completely unfamiliar to the membership and others, because they're students and they're just getting started. But that's one of the things that I always get comments on, that people enjoy that we include them on this festival, and they get to meet some new blood, and they play very nicely too. So it's a good thing.
So you really hit that out of the ballpark then. That's great. It's funny, we do have a comment, and I don't think that they were disagreeing, but Joan Daly Lewis said, HQ has done a great job with the online festivals. They've enabled me to attend, which is true. I mean, Organ Fest in 2020 and then again in 2021 really did enable some people who never would have been able to afford to go to a regional or even a national convention to listen to some great music. I have a question here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Nelson, but we're going to keep it interactive.
Yep.
And this is for Billie. Are there any repeat summer scholars? What kinds of things do you do to keep them after their summer experience? Do you have summer scholars who then go to POEs? And this is interesting, do you find that there are any feelings of competition from piano teachers who may be concerned about anything that takes away from the students' piano practice?
Well, let me start with that one. That was the concern that I had. I'm the daughter of a prep piano teacher. So I had heard the stories about the other instruments that would, take the young pianist away. So what I did was convene a lot of the piano teachers who had been, who were pretty well connected or who had made referrals. And I asked them that question. I said, how can we approach it with you that you do not, fear that? Because a lot of the students we get are really excellent pianists. They're also very churched. And so they become very in demand to play. Maybe not every Sunday, but they are offered a lot of activities. So, some of the teachers that are referring are very active in churches out in their suburb from where they come. So that was something, and I made sure to always address that at the beginning of the recruitment period, that we saw this as an add-on and something that, who knows, could even be something that would help kids that were going to major in piano pay their way through college. And sure enough, that has happened.
That's wonderful. Now, do you get, and she also asked, do any of the summer scholars then go on to POEs?
They have. Some of them continue to study, with teachers in the chapter, maybe not with the faculty member that they were assigned to, but maybe even another one. Some have been in touch, and we find out that they're studying organ in college, or in addition, we interestingly have a number of engineers who have also studied organ in college and use it to, they work in church jobs on the side. And then 1994, you can imagine that we have some that are not real young anymore. And some of them wouldn't even qualify to be a AGO young organist anymore. And they have continued to play. That's what we want.
That's really interesting, because we do have a lot of members that are engineers, and there's a correlation there somewhere along the line. It's interesting. It's fascinating to me. It really is.
I mean, there are 1,000 stories like that, and about what you find out about these kids, and I think that really is an important thing. If we're going to retain kids or we're going to recruit them even effectively, I think we have to see them more holistically than just a scholar that applied well and got through the audition process and went through the lessons and was able to perform, and then they're gone,
Good point. And now we're going to take this over to Mark Andersen, who I know has a thriving scholarship program in Central North Carolina. So talk a little bit about that, Mark, about how that all started, because I know you have a rich history there of long, very thriving scholarship program.
We do indeed. It has been my pleasure to work with the board that I have. I've got an extremely strong and helpful board that all pitch in and do their parts on this. That's the reason that we are able to have such a vibrant scholarship program. Our Cooper Miller Scholarship is open to young organists from age 12 up through college, well, starting at college. And then the Andersen Scholarship is starts with college age and goes up through college. It has been a long history of this chapter to put a lot of energy into fundraising so that these scholarships can live, and into encouraging the youth who have been scholarship winners to stay with it and keep going. Just about every one of our Cooper Miller winners, no matter even the ones who won at age 12 or the ones who won at age 16, have gone on to either major or minor in organ in college. And that's been an important piece of history for us. And it's grown our community so that it is an important feature of the board. Lorraine Magnuson is my angel. Lorraine does all the work in getting these scholarship programs together. We all look for people to join, but it's really understood when you join our scholarship program that, first of all, you're going to be a long-term member of AGO. That's a part of the encouragement. The second thing is all of our Cooper Miller winners are given free admission to the local POEs. This year, we've got four young people going to Winston-Salem, to the POE there, and to Richmond. They would have gone, two of them would have gone last year, except of course for the cancellation. It's really important to follow up with these young people so that you're not just saying, well, you know, thanks for winning our scholarship, here's $1,000 and, you know, do whatever you want to with it. We mean for that money to be used to further the education and to further the interest in organ. So that's an important part of our education of all of the young people who advance themselves to trying for our scholarships.
I think it's wonderful that you set expectations very clearly and say, you know, we want you to be lifelong members. This is an opportunity for you to grow and professionally and personally, and engage them that way so that it isn't just a one-off. I'm a scholarship winner this year and thank you so much. And, you know, maybe I'll see you in a couple of years.
It's been very important to work with them on that. And I think one of the things that was important for me as a leader was to become a life member myself so that they could see what this can do. And I talk very freely about the fact that, you know, I'm 75 years old now, and I'm not going to be around forever. I'm hoping that that money from my life membership will go on and encourage other people to do the same thing, and that money will educate some wonderful young person after I'm gone.
Well, I remember, I don't think I'd been on the job more than a week when we had a lovely conversation and you were joining as a life member, and I was just so impressed. And we have grown our life memberships, but I mean, that's just says so much about your belief in our profession and in our organization. Okay, we've got some good questions for all of you, actually. To anyone, what topics have you found most interest young organists when you're planning your programming for your chapter for the year? Other than scholarships, how do you retain young organists through creative programs of interest to them?
Well, I can say that we are very clear with the Young Organist program that this is a wonderful gift from national and from our chapter. And we really expect that you will repay that gift by continuing your membership. And that's said right up at the beginning when we invite these young people to become Young Organist members. I know that was really important for me. I've been a church organist since I was 10 years old. That was my first job. And I've remained that. I've been a concert artist since I was 20 years old. And the help that I have gotten along the way from other fine organists are really what has made my life in the organ world possible. So I'm trying to do that same thing.
You're paying it forward. That's
one
great.
of the ways that we got as many members as we did, even being a small chapter, is because I started calling the school systems, the band programs, I call the large churches. I did it the old-fashioned way. I picked up the telephone, found out who I needed to talk to, and started talking to those people. And the people just came out of the woodwork.
Wow, that's it. You know, I mean, the old school picking up the phone really does work. It really does. So let me ask Billie and John and Nelson, were there any particular programs that you did this year that you felt would be of interest to young organists when you were thinking about them? I know a lot of chapters have featured them, included them, as you just said, Nelson, in your wonderful President's Day program. But when you were doing some of your virtual programming online, were any targeted that you thought would be of interest to younger people?
Not targeted, and of course, with the online thing, it was really difficult. I think for LA, a lot of what makes this a fun chapter is the socializing that goes on at a meeting, and the artists that we bring in, world-class artists that we can talk to and a young person can meet. And that's one of the things that we promote, is that being active, coming to the meetings is really an opportunity to make important relationships with local professionals and others who come from all over the country as our artists from time to time. So I look at it as an opportunity for the young people to get involved, or just to meet people and get involved professionally with members if they come to a meeting. If you don't come to a meeting, you're unknown. It's just how it works.
John.
Yes. So we did do a virtual concert at my church with Emma Whitten, who's one of our younger people. And she is now down at what used to be the Crystal Cathedral, along with Dave Ball. And they both were, I think, really good as representations to younger people that, look, you can do this too, as opposed to just everybody being 50 and above. I don't know how old Emma is, but she maybe early 30s, late 20s or something like that, but she's quite a wonderful player. And in that regard, when you have people who are closer to the age group of the people that that you're looking to get into the group, I felt that was really good to have those young people, and she played very well, and it was just great to have her there. So, and we didn't necessarily target that as a young people to young people event, even though we certainly could do that as we move forward. I think that's not a bad idea. But that was a real good, successful concert.
And in general, I would say that our performers tend to skew younger. And that was real obvious at the festival too. It was a fairly young crew, and so I make an effort and influencing the program committee to bring in new blood. We don't want to see the same people over and over and over. However good they might be, we want to see new people.
Great. Well, I think that's so important. So Van Howard says, I love the idea of expecting ongoing AGO involvement. We do, and I think it's great. Let's see, we've got a couple more good ones here. Oh, I see. All right. Can you talk, for Mark, it's so impressive that you fund POEs. Can you talk about your scholarship program, what students win, and what your fundraising looks like? Because I think, that's a key thing too, is fundraising. And if John Dixon, who is our counselor for finance, were sitting here with us, he'd want to give you a hug because he's all about, how do you do the fundraising? So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the fundraising is, it's really, is it the chicken or the egg? Well, to me, the fundraising has to come first. And the chairman of our scholarship committee is Lorraine, that I spoke about earlier. Mm-hmm. Fundraising is also a great thing to her, even to the point that she's gone out to her own family looking for fundraising. I have done a good bit of the fundraising for a lot of the scholarship programs. And my whole thing is that I have led that fundraising myself personally, so that I can say when I approach someone else, well, I just donated $1,000. Can you match that? And that has been a very good thing. Again, I know that the social media thing is a wonderful thing, but it also can be a very anonymous thing. And I have found that either meeting face to face with a prospective donor, or at least a phone call, so that I can hear what their reaction is and kind of move my sales pitch around as I need to do it, so that we can continue these programs, because they can't happen without that financial sponsorship. The prize for our scholarships is $1,000, plus the sponsoring the students at POEs, plus even extra perks that one or two of us decide to give that extraordinary student to make sure that they've got everything they need. And one of the things I'd like to speak to is I have found a great bit of help in the diversity in our area, because I have found that a diverse number of students is a much more solid and forward-moving group of students. So they help themselves once we do the initial work.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Well, Joyce Gerstenauer, who's one of our district conveners, says you've got to put talking on the phone is so much more personal than another text or email. Thank you so much for saying that. Carol Graham, Billy has a question for you. More info regarding the content of Organ 101.
Well, Organ 101 is pretty much that first lesson that we all give to new students. We were trying to figure out a way we could not afford in our budget. And by the way, our scholarship program is a line item in our budget every year, and we make sure that that comes right off the top. We could not afford to pay the faculty for more than 6 lessons for ever how many students were coming that year. And we decided that if we could do that first lesson, that would give them an extra lesson to accommodate teaching the repertoire. So we look at organ construction, and we talk a little, they get to actually look at an organ, try an organ. We talk about registration somewhat, what the different sounds might be used for in worship. We usually start there. And it's about an hour. It'd be like that first lesson that we have all given so many times to students, to try to pique their interest and keep them coming back. So I don't know if that's enough of a response or not.
Well, I think you've obviously been successful, and Mark has been successful. I'm just looking to see if there are any other questions that we have here. But the commonality that I'm hearing from all of you is that you can't do this on your own. You really need to form an ad hoc committee, a subcommittee. You've got to have a team. You've got to have a board. Everybody's got to believe in it. And I know Lorraine Mark is a superstar. We've had her on. We had her on about a year ago when we were talking about scholarship programs. But I do think, obviously you're a good salesperson, and you have to kind of pick up the phone and say, okay, what's going to resonate with this person? What's the catch that we can, bring them in and engage them as sponsors and do some fundraising. So I can tell that you all are doing that. And I think as well, Nelson, I'm so sorry that I haven't had an opportunity to attend one of your programs, but I will be heading west this summer and in the fall. So I really look forward to it, because I've heard really wonderful things about how everyone feels so welcomed and acknowledged, which I think is and recognized. And I think that's really, really important. I don't think you can do enough of that today. I think it's so important. Well, I'm trying to think of what else. We've really talked about, media, who was involved, how you got buy-in from the board, how you kept them engaged. I know a lot of you have done a feature article in your newsletters. Anybody do any podcasts? John?
No, well, I don't, but we do have somebody who does. I was going to actually bring that up next, and you walked right into it. So that's perfect.
Talk about that a little bit then.
Nelson can take care of that.
Okay.
We have a regular podcast every month. One of our board members, it was his idea, and we geared him up to be able to do it. And he typically will interview the performer for the upcoming, or performers for the upcoming program. And people enjoy it. It's getting regular listenership. It's a little hard. We've been doing it just long enough now that we can start to look at if we sense or can analyze and see if that's starting to bleed over into other results. But it's a lot of work. This is a very professionally done podcast. You can find them on the LA AGO website and listen to any of them. So thanks for mentioning that, John.
Well, that's been a goal of mine for this coming year, is for the AGO to come into the 21st century and do a few podcasts. Because I think you do attract, I think, first of all, the timing of them, the length of them, the fact that they're very, they can be very specific, that it can be a casual interview kind of format, I think is really going to resonate very well with our members, particularly our younger members. Well, I want to thank you so much. If everyone will indulge me, I would just like to, for those of you who I know have picked up some good tips tonight, I do want to share with you, hold on one second. I'm going to just give me a moment here and let me take a look at, here we go. I want to share one page with you. Okay, here we go. I know the AGO website is not the most intuitive website that you've ever seen. And fear not, hope, there is hope. We will be getting a new database software, and with it, a new website. But we do have lots of information here about the Year of the Young Organist, and it's under the membership tab. And if you hover over that, you'll see Year of the Young Organist Recruitment Contest. And each month, what I have been doing, and as you can see, who's in the lead, we've still got the same, you guys are in the lead. Molly Davy does calculations every month. So each month, what we've tried to do is to come up with a tip, a marketing tip or a sales tip for chapters to use. So the first, which you've done, is to contact the teachers in your area and let them know about it. We also then created a QR code that takes people that are interested right to our website where they can sign up for free membership. We created then another flyer with a QR code. Wesley Hall, who's done some wonderful TikToks, who's the king of TikTok now in the AGO, who did a wonderful one for the POE, the virtual POE this last summer, did a TikTok video for us for the Year of the Young Organist. We talked about giving the gift of free membership as a holiday gift. And then, of course, we were very excited to see the launch of the Organ Scholar program that will take place in 2023 at Duke University. There will still be one more year. Actually, I think it's this year at Duke, and then the following year we'll have another opportunity. And then, there've been, I will say that the Agoyo Committee and the Young Organist Committee has done a wonderful job of putting together a really great series of webinars on registration, not only just organ related, but thinking about planning for the future, retirement, how to put together a resume, which is so important. And then we're so excited. We really hope to see a lot of our young organists in Seattle. We have a Young Organist Steering Committee at the convention that's put together $10,000 for scholarships. And there's an additional one for housing as well. So we're excited about that. And then the last one is one that, most recent one, is what I think a lot of our members don't realize. And light bulbs went off when I was talking with a chapter a couple of weeks ago, and we pulled up their most recent roster from OnCard. And I said, and I always highlight, who their active members are. But what I did was I said, let's scroll down a little bit. Look at some of these young organists that dropped out or maybe lost their memberships for whatever reason, canceled their memberships in 2018, 2019. Mm-hmm. And I said, I've researched these for you, and they still qualify as young organists. So there's that low-hanging fruit that is there for you to look at every month. So I encourage, I know a variety of people. It might be the dean, it might be the registrar, it might be the membership coordinator, whoever has access, your treasurer, to those on-card reports, that you take a look at them, because there's what we call the low-hanging fruit, that's the easy part, getting them back into the fold. So I have a thank you from Cheryl to say thank you to all. It's been so enlightening. Thank you, Cheryl Sebo, who is our regional counselor in the Southwestern region. We love you, Cheryl. Thank you so much. Any final words from anyone? Anything else that I haven't asked, or that anybody feels like saying that hasn't been said? No? Well, I want to thank you, Billie. I want to thank you, Mark Andersen. I want to thank you, Nelson Dodge, and John West, for joining us tonight. The race isn't over, and we're very proud of you that are here because you've done some extraordinary things. But this doesn't end until June 30th. So I hope some of you that are listening tonight might give these people a run for their money and just take a look and use some of these best practices and see what happens, because we'd love nothing more to say something. The next month, this chapter is tied with the Los Angeles chapter, or with Denver Rocky Mountain, or with Central North Carolina, or we have a new and up and coming leader for this month. So in any event, I want to thank everyone so much for joining our program tonight. I'll just share some Young Organist stats before we end. So as of, this was a week ago, when Molly Davy, our wonderful manager of member engagement and chapter support, ran the reports, we had 613 new young organists this year, and we instated 394. And some of these, the majority of these young organists that we reinstated had not been members for quite a while. So we're going to add those as part of our new recruitment efforts, which brings it to a total of 907, because my personal goal for this is for us to be recruiting it by June 30th, 1,000 new young organist members, and that we have a conversion of 70%. 70% would stay on. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. And then we've got a little over almost 1,350 that have renewed. So this is, as you've said, this is our future. This is where we're heading. And we want to keep this excitement going even after the Year of the Young Organist. And something that may not know, which we were discussing prior to starting going live with the webinar, is if you've got someone, a member that joined on June 28th, they've got another free year of membership. So anybody that joins before or even on June 30th can still get that extra free year. So some things that I hope that you will think about tonight. And if you have questions, you can email me. I'll be happy to, if they're specifically for Billy or Nelson or Mark or John, we'll pass them on. But I want to thank everyone for being here with us tonight. I was going to promote, we have an upcoming webinar really on the power of publicity and promoting your chapter events through media, which J.W. Arnold, who is a wonderful member of our association and who is chairing the marketing committee, was going to do next Monday on the 28th. But I think we're going to postpone this for a month simply because life is a little crazy now as our Lenten programs increase. And this is important information. But I want to thank all of you that joined us tonight and our panelists. So everybody take care, stay well. And we hope to see you in Seattle, if not sooner.